11 items that are on the consent agenda. And of those 11 items that are on there, there is one that I'd like to pull off. The only reason why is number 11, the ratification of the warrant summary. When I clicked on the summary, all it did was give me an agenda, same agenda.
I would like to discuss number 2.
Number 2, okay. So if we could continue number 11 for 1 week until we get the proper documentation on there.
Okay.
That's fine.
I'm good with continuing number 11. I did have a quick question on number 5 on consent.
Number 5. So we've got number 2 and number 5. Okay. And then still building on our consent agenda, we have 21 on our on our regular agenda. And so we'll put everything temporarily on consent right now for the regular agenda, except for items that we need to pull off or discussion. Okay.
Not a motion, but we should emboss the letter that Richard Suzoff sent, the email to the desk that's his retirement gift.
Right. Number 6, you can pull that off. Number 8, number 9, number 17, number 21 are the ones I had.
That works for me.
That work for you too?
That's actually the
Okay.
things I have.
Okay, and all the rest will be on consent to either be approved, adopted, ratified. Oh, let's see. I do need to pull number 3 off too.
3 on regular.
3 on regular. Sorry, just for a discussion on that one. I was wondering why I had that circled. Okay. Any others? Okay. All right, let's go back to number 2 on the.
Okay, so I asked for this one. My only concern here is I know there's been some discussion with Workday and with Mercer. Workday, when they won the bid and we went with them, guaranteed that they could meet the county's requirements on all these numbers, and now they're asking for a no-cost change order. But no cost is a lie, in my opinion, because when we implement things at different times, there's different trainings, and we've already put a whole lot of man hours, and their bid was accepted on that understanding that that's what was going to happen. That was why we spent so much time doing it. I still haven't seen a contract guaranteeing that they can meet our needs, and so moving this back doesn't work for me, because moving this back allows them more time, and it's not in writing. This is hoping that we go live then, because then they're working on an update. To me, that's not good business. That's kind of how we got here. So that's just my concerns on this one.
Okay, Cameron, would you like to maybe address some of those issues?
Cami Taylor, Human Resources. As far as guaranteeing that they can meet our needs, we signed a contract and we completed a statement of work for what our expectations are. Utah County's been clear with what our GL needs basically are the biggest things in being able to allocate our time to different project codes. It's a difficult situation because no one's breached the contract yet. So when we entered into this agreement, we discussed doing different deployments at different times. So pushing back time tracking and absence.
Yeah, but not this one.
Correct.
See, if we don't approve this, they will be in breach. That's 100% guaranteed. We know that. That's my problem with this, is we are moving the goal line for them, and you're right, they're not in breach yet, except for the fact they told us, well, we can't do that. And when we all met, we agreed. It's
So-
not our fault they can't read.
So they could do it. There's an option with work tags that they could do it with 15 tags, and they could have a big long list of project codes. Pushing this deadline back is because I don't think that that is the best way to have someone from the sheriff's office go log their time and have to see 30 different project codes that maybe they're logging in for corrections, and they can see enforcements as well because we're limited to our work tags. They can do it, there's just a better way. So pushing
Okay.
this back will allow us to have a more concise, streamlined time tracking, and I think it will allow our employees ease of looking in and seeing only their project codes drilled down to division and bureaus rather than just at a high department level.
So then why don't we move everything back to a go live of November 4th? Because again, problem is if you do an October 7th, then we're in, but yet time tracking was the whole reason they were selected. I mean, that really
Correct.
was where the savings is. That's my concern. If we have multiple dates like this and all of a sudden we get into it and we go live, we have 2 pay periods, and then all of a sudden it comes in and we have to pull the plug. See, I mean, it's the end of the year that's my real concern, and this is, I mean, I know what you and your office went through at the end of last year. This, to me, this feels like a train wreck, potentially.
A project like this is potentially a train wreck, but I can assure you that we're managing our testing and we're managing our time, and as far as savings, there's no additional cost incurred by the county for pushing this
Okay.
back.
But that's not true, because when we train and we pull everybody out, that's my point is man hours are still a cost to the county.
Uh-huh.
There's no budget fiscal note. You're right. But man hours are still a cost to the county. And the longer we keep dragging this out, and all the departments that keep saying, I need this and I need this and I need this, and then HR's not able to meet it, you know, that's the problem is the county can't function the more we keep pushing this back.
So the only
And go ahead.
the only thing that we're pushing back is absence and time tracking. And as far as implementing with the county employees will have an opportunity to log on to Workday to see their pay stub, to get used to the worklets for 2 pay periods, and then they'll be able to enter their time. So it allows us time to do it in phases so that we're not saying, you're doing benefits, you're doing time tracking, you're doing your absence, you're doing payroll. We can target those trainings so that we can roll it out in phases. And I do think that that would be beneficial to the county to first get used to the system, and even before we go live with payroll, we're talking about doing a soft go live so that when people enter Workday for the first time, it's not when we go live, it's up front, and they'll still be able to see the time tracking. They just won't be able to see the project codes until September.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well just move forward. I'm going to be a no on this because I'm the one that I know I had all those discussions with Mercer. I had all those discussions with Workday. We were guaranteed this. We knew the timeline. We knew the time crunch, and they guaranteed it. They guaranteed it to the commission. They guaranteed it to you individually. They guaranteed it to me individually outside of that. And so far, you know, well, they're missing their first deadline, and they're putting the county at great risk, even greater risk during a transition. So I'm a no to the change because, to me, they're going to be in breach if they can't do it or whatever. And I just think that we should do what we say we're going to do. And in our case, that was we told them the deadline. We knew it when we went to RFP. We told everybody our time crunch. Everybody met it. Everybody said they could do it. These guys won the bid saying that they could do it. And all of a sudden, we're moving the goal line. So
I will say they can do it if we want.
well, then I think they should do it. And then if there's a better way, we should have that discussion after. But the reality is that was the savings.
I guess I don't understand the savings as far as
Ever since it was brought to me saying they can't do it, that time tracking, they can't meet it, and they misread their RFP,
they
I
didn't
have sent 3
understand that.
emails to everybody asking for where's the contract and where's the fix. Nobody has answered any of my questions. Nobody has still answered my question. All I keep getting told is, yeah, they can do it. I haven't seen it in writing because last I heard from them, they were still working on a fix. That's all the information I have to go on. So based on that, that's why I
Okay.
feel like this.
So in the contract, they can do the time tracking, they can meet our needs. There's a cleaner way, a better way with the update, and that's why I would recommend us pushing it back so that we can have that cleaner update that will be made available on September 9th. And as far as,
Tammy, let me maybe ask a question in relationship to that. So if we hypothetically didn't push this back, they'd roll out with one time tracking module, and then it looked like about a month later, roughly October 7th to November 4th, we would actually have to retrain all the employees on a new
No.
time tracking, or we wouldn't get the update?
turn it off until November 4th. So people would still enter their time through the system that we have now, and there would be an integration. We would load time for 2 pay periods into Workday and run payroll. So we'd have payroll that we would run twice, and then we would do time inside of Workday, and then in January move to the other modules. So we can do it. We can use work tags. I just don't think that's the best way. I think there's a better way coming.
So my
and-
question, I mean, everyone should know what I think about change orders. I have
Sure.
problems with them every time. But in some cases, change orders can be a benefit because the change order allows us for a cleaner process or allows us to get to a place. Do you view this one as getting us to a better spot, this kind of change order?
do. With, there are 15 work tags. Work tags are basically lists that you can put together. There are 15 customizable ones that are delivered with Workday. We can use those 15 to put our project codes into our different departments. But that means that for the sheriff's office, when someone goes to put in their time and they're trying to allocate it to a project code, they see everything in the sheriff's department. This update will allow people in corrections to only see their list of project codes if you're in.
Okay, but an
enforcement,
update doesn't
of
mean
course.
we should move the goal line. An update, there are going to be 2 updates every year contractually. So that's, again, why I don't know why we're moving this one. An update's just an update. The system's going to change over time anyway.
The system will change over time, but as Utah County is coming up to speed and getting the training that we need in order to do these updates, right now we've hired a third party to help us with the implementation. So rather than have them do the implementation with the work tags and then try and do the update, I think it
Sure.
makes sense to push it back 1 month.
So to Commissioner Lee's point, I guess I would ask the question to Cammie this way. Who asked for this extension? You? Or was this brought on by Workday when they said that there was a glitch in the time tracking?
When we had this discussion, I was very adamant that the work tag solution would not work for us because I think it would be very confusing to individuals that have to clock in and clock out and allocate their time to go and see every project code that their entire division had. So when I said that this does not work for Utah County, they said, okay, let's find a solution, and had discussions
But
about the
you see it
updates.
as being more beneficial to the county?
Absolutely. I do.
Okay, any other questions?
No, I just think that we can, I think we hold everybody and hold them more accountable to an October 7th, and if we get within a week or 2 of that, I think we can move it then. I just,
What about that?
We
Is
know
that,
now, nothing will
is
change
nothing-
between now and 2 weeks before October 7th, as far as.
I know, by
meeting
moving
our
this, in
needs.
essence, what they're going to do is they're going to focus on everything on October 7th. So see, they won the
No.
bid because they said, yes, we can do all these things by this time, and then we handpicked 2 or 3 modules to go live in January. That is why they won the bid, and now all of a sudden, we are changing the parameters at which they won.
At my request, because I really do believe this is better for the
See,
county.
now that's why I struggle with it. If it was your request, yes, but the request when it came to you, generally that's not the way you generally request, at least in history is you send us an email and say, hey, I'd like to discuss, or it comes up. When
Right.
it comes with you and an attorney saying we've got a problem, that's not a request to me. That is an issue, you saying this isn't going to work for us, but still, that was their program. We bought their program that way, and I don't think we should be moving anything yet. So anyway, I think we know where I'm at. I'm okay to move forward
Okay.
on this issue anyway.
If I can, having with all due respect to the concerns that have been raised, but having come from the high-tech industry, being involved in project management, and then some of the things that I've seen here in the county in my time, including HR programs and in my own elections office and that, I think ultimately we want to do what is best. And it's just a matter of life that as you go through these processes, there are little things that come up and you discover things. And yes, we contractually do want to hold people to deadlines in that, but someone, and in this case, Cammie, who understands the program, has recognized something there. I think in the long run, from my personal perspective, experience and background, that it would be best to also give some credibility to what she is saying and look at this. And I think that we're going to continue to have slight adjustments and things along the way. And we need to be cognizant of that because it's a learning curve for everybody involved. And so my recommendation on this, from my experience, is that you allow the process, holding them accountable, but certainly understanding that there has to be flexibility. There will be adjustments. And that's, as you work through these type projects, you continue to improve the process and fine-tune into what we want. And that's ultimately what we want. And we also, from an end user standpoint, have to be so careful to not introduce multiple iterations that we confuse people and releasing multiple things. And I think that's important too. And I think Cammie is well aware of that. So I felt strongly about this enough that I wanted to make sure I expressed my concern.
Well, and I don't disagree with you, Brian, at all. My question is then who do we hold accountable for getting this time tracking wrong? Because if it doesn't work for the county and we bought this, somebody's accountable, whether it's the commission, whether it's HR, whether it's the attorneys, whether it's Mercer. I don't know. But you're right. I know stuff's going to happen along the way. But if we bought something that doesn't work for the county, then shame on us for selling ourselves snake oil.
And Commissioner, I agree that from that standpoint, we have to be very careful. And as the county auditor, that's one of the things I think is very important. I'm just saying that these processes are very complex and that we may need some flexibility. And on our end, our project managers need to work in conjunction with their project managers, which I think there's communication there. And we should just continue to watch this closely. But as it's moving, I'm really impressed for a software implementation on this fast track, what's been accomplished and the things that are going. Yes, I have concerns too, but I think as long as we just keep an open mind and straightforward on this, definitely safeguarding the county's assets, we also need to hit that balance there so that we get the right product in the end.
Okay, if this passes, sensing that it might, would you make sure and just kind of have that conversation with Mercer that there is concern? We want to make sure and hold things tight and close and keep on our target dates. We knew that this is going to be a crunch time and there's going to be a lot going on, a lot flying back and forth, but just kind of reassure and let them know that there's concern.
I will.
And we're all go from concern, the real concern is if this becomes a pattern.
Right.
On products. I agree, there will be instances where we'll have switches. If it becomes a pattern,
I agree, and we will follow through and make sure that the attorney's office sends them a letter letting them know that we're preserving a right if there is a breach.
in that case.
All right, any other discussion?
No.
Okay.
We got to hurry so Brian can get on to his busy day and night.
Yeah.
So, I'll move that we approve consent agenda item number 2.
Second?
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to approve agenda item number 2. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, I've got, that was Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Ivy for the ayes and Commissioner Grave as the nay. Okay, let's move on to number 5.
I think this should be just a fairly quick question. My understanding is that this subdivision falls under our new minor subdivisions group we just adopted. I was just more curious how the process worked and if we accomplished our goal in speeding up the time frame.
We have, definitely. This is actually the second one we've taken through under our new procedures, and it's worked quite well, actually. It has sped up the process, and the first one we sent through, I was pretty pleased to be able to go from, just fixing the application to approval in a matter of days. It really has sped up the process. So thank you for working with us to kind of come up with a better process, I think, for the public, so.
Okay. And that was just my question. I just wanted to make sure we had accomplished our goal and it was working right as we were seeing these start to come through.
It has worked very well the first
Well
two.
done.
Perfect.
Motion to be in order.
I'll move that we approve consent agenda item number 5.
Second?
Got a motion and a second to approve consent agenda item number 5. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
would it be all right if we move to agenda item 21, just with everything down here?
You bet.
I don't know how much longer I will be able to stay on.
all right, fair enough. Okay. Regular agenda item number 21 is to select a retirement plan consultant. And we have had, this was on our agenda last week, and then yesterday we had an opportunity to have Soltis and NFP come back in and talk with Commissioner Ivy and myself. Commissioner Graves, I'm not sure where you want to be in this process.
I'll just listen to you two discuss, and
Okay.
when we're ready for motions, I'll
Okay.
join in.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And so, first off, is there any comment to this? We'll use the same format we had last time. Is there any comment on this agenda item? Okay. Seeing none, I'll pull it back up here for the commissioners then for discussion. I know we went through and listened to both, and it was good. I appreciate the opportunity to clear up some things, understand where we're at, what can be done, and a little bit more about these two great companies that have been willing to come in and go through the RFP process, which I'm sure is not an easy situation, but to present to us and give us an opportunity to select what we think. Now, they went through a recommending committee. The recommending committee did recommend to us the top 3. We whittled that down to the 2. That's where we're at right now, is on these 2, and so discussion. Thoughts?
So, yeah, I can start off here. First off, thank you to both entities who have come and presented now on multiple occasions to us, both to the recommending committee and to the commissioners. I appreciate your time and efforts. Both very impressive companies, excellent staff. I feel very comfortable that both of them have the expertise and the staff to meet the needs of the county to make sure that our retirement investments are handled wisely and with prudence. In meeting with them, one of the great concerns was education, making sure that we had the opportunity for the county employees to be informed. Feel like they both meet that requirement very well. And then in reviewing again in the recommendation committee, for me, it kind of comes back to a cost scenario here. With NFP, we're getting an inclusive everything for the base fee of $59,950 with 12 trainings included in that price, is my understanding. And additional trainings available. With the Soltis, the pricing becomes the question. For me, there's a $80,000 flat fee, and in addition to that, there's educational visits were 750 a day. So if we match the 12, we'd be roughly at 89,000 if we go with their flat fee service. The other option with their pricing is the 60,000 flat base fee with a, I believe it was a 5% performance bonus, which would put us in a range between the 60,000 to 131,000, depending upon performance. And the question then for me became, is there a significant benefit for the price difference? And I just did not see one with Solta enough separation there, which left me with the impression that NFP gives us what we need for the best dollar value. And I think that was reflected from the recommending committee with their vote totals.
Cammy, will you clear up the pricing? Just talk about the pricing. I don't have your notes with you.
Actually don't have it with me.
Because I remember that 80,000 as being inclusive into different models. When I read it, it was a $60,000 base fee. And then there was options on there in the way of, you know, if they go with the 5%, you know, being more, I don't even know what you call it, what the
With the performance bonus.
performance bonus
Yeah,
in there.
Commissioner Ivy is correct on that, the variable with the
Right, the
flat
variable.
fee. They offered the same 12 included. I think it was 750 a day in addition if we needed more days.
More than the 12.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
so the 12 is included there?
not in the written proposal, but when we had the first meeting, they did state that they would include
Okay.
the 12 days.
Would be where my confusion came in.
Then there'd be additional on top of that if we wanted it.
Correct.
And then there's the group ones too. I mean, they automatically have the group ones in there, the big groups,
Right. And then the education piece of it, I'm not clear what Soltis's education plan is as far as the, above and beyond just the financial planning meetings. I don't know if they clarified that further.
you're talking about the,
Employee education,
it-
yeah,
yeah,
if you're gonna
employee
talk to them about
education.
social security or
Right.
have a meeting about,
That wasn't in the RFP, right?
the education piece.
Yeah, it wasn't in the RFP.
No, but it's a service that, I believe NFP has included.
yeah, thank you. I still, there's a couple, for me, I am, when I look at both of them, again, great companies, but I'm firmly on with Soltis on this one. In looking at what they will provide all the way down to the individual, I saw a superior product there. And that was enticing to me, right down to coordinating on a link basis live with going into outside of just what the county has to offer, with their bank accounts, with other things they have, to have a holistic view of what they can do. And I really like that. It wasn't stagnant. It was pretty live. I was impressed with that. The price part of it, I saw that one pretty much drawing sixes on it. I didn't see a lot of differences there on what we'd need. And so for me, a lot of it came down to a certain trust level, and I am with things that have gone on in the past, and a lot of it's been cleared up. A lot of it's been cleared up in the past that's happened, but still, I sit on a trust level that I think it's a good opportunity and time for us to just start new, start fresh. And so that's the second point, that the reason why I looked at Soltis and said everything kind of really close and equal for the most part. I kind of put them a little bit ahead, that I'd feel comfortable going forward with Soltis. So we've got this is what can happen. If we stay at this, then basically what will happen is we can't come to an agreement with it unless Commissioner Graves wants to chime in on this and make a decision one way or the other. I don't know if you're at that spot. Sure.
Yeah, so I'll again I have some big concerns with the whole RFP process as far as it's even more concerning, and she was only chair of the committee because they voted her. It's not because she put the RFP together, but Cammie's statement just barely of I don't know quite on their cost on how it breaks down. Considering that was 130 RFP, I'm just going to let my comments for last week stand for what they were. As far as this, I have some great concerns. I appreciate Commissioner Ivy's comments because it's the same echoed by Commissioner Lee and myself, and that is this is the employees' fund. This is their money, and they do need to know what's going on. And quite frankly, that's one of the biggest gripes I hear from everybody is they don't really know what's going on. And so for that reason, it's tough to say that somebody earned or didn't earn, but somebody has to be held accountable when employees don't know what's going on in their own fund. And what I found out in just the last week or two that I've raised with the attorneys that everybody will be hearing more about, and the commission knows, and we're trying to figure out, gives me great concern. And so, I'm ready for. I will. If you both want to make motions, I'll second them, and we can have votes for both. Whatever you'd like to do.
The chair usually doesn't make a motion.
Well, then if I would make a motion then for either one of them. I'm okay doing that. And we can have a vote for both of them.
Okay. So is that your motion to put them both on for a vote?
Yes.
Okay.
We have to do it one time though, right?
Okay. So we'll put them on one at a time. If that's, can I adjust that motion to put them on one at a time?
Yeah, that was my intent.
Okay.
I don't even know if I can do that, but that was
Okay.
my intent.
All right. Then,
So,
Uh,
Greg, do you want to make that, or would you like me to?
No, that's my motion is that we,
which one do you want first? Which one do you want second?
well, let's do them in the order the retirement committee did it. NFP first and SOLTA second.
Okay.
Second, is that the motion? I'll second that.
Okay. I've got a motion and a second. I know it's confusing. What it is no. There is a motion
There's
to
two
accept.
motions in essence.
There's a motion to accept NFP as one, and then a motion to accept SOLTIS is a second motion.
As number two.
A second, obviously. If
Okay.
it's unsuccessful, then you could proceed with the second motion. See that?
Okay, so we'll just we'll leave one on the table right now, and that's the motion right now to accept NFP. And that's also pending future or
Yeah.
further
So
negotiations.
it would be to accept NFP with direction of the attorney's office to go forward with negotiations before
Right.
a final contract is awarded,
As stated in item 21.
as stated in item number 21.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second for that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion fails. The second motion. Do you want to state the second motion,
So
Commissioner?
I can do it. The second motion would be to select SOLTIS as the retirement plan consultant with further negotiations with the attorney's office pending award of final contract and recommendation.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to accept SOLTIS as SOLTIS as stated number 21. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes. Oh, any
And-
opposed?
Aye.
Okay. That passes 2-0 with Commissioner Graves and Commissioner Lee on the aye and Commissioner Ivy on the nay. Okay.
I hate to do this, but I've got some electricians standing outside
All
my
right,
door.
very good.
So,
Remember,
Thank you.
black and white, don't touch them together.
yep. Thank you.
Shocking.
Save the fireworks for tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, back to regular agenda item number 3. Is that correct? Are we on 3?
I've got 3.
Number 11 was continued for 1 week on consent, so number 3. Number 3. A couple questions on this one. And I know that gifts are given, like the guns and so forth, the sheriff's department, you know, as they retire and so forth. The question, oh, yes, oh. Sure, you bet. How's your arm doing?
I'm good. It's a little sore, but not too bad, so.
That's what happens when you ride those bulls, huh? It
Yeah,
kinda-
yeah, that's, we had that discussion, didn't we? We're going out in the hallway out here.
Yeah,
Yes.
that one's kind of a hard one to stay on. Like sitting on those little bike, seats.
I did notice some spur marks on it, though. Now I know where to, have to pull
That
some
fell off, you know.
security footage there. Recorders quit working, apparently. It's just the day for technical
Now
difficulties.
it's the day for it. Hopefully all the technical difficulties are here and not in the elections office tonight.
Yeah, that
Right.
would be good. That would be good.
We're taking all that for you, Brian.
Oh, okay. Okay, so when someone retires, you know, and they have, it goes from what, $100 up to $300 that are.
Depending on years of service.
It's, you know, years of service that they have there. And at times, you know, property is given, county property is given. My concern is that it was listed on here as a $250 desk.
Mhm.
Is that what it's gonna cost us to replace that desk?
I believe that was the value assigned to that desk. I don't know what the replacement cost would be. I don't know what we've,
My
But
concern
that's
comes in is that I'm sure that whoever takes this place is gonna need to have a desk.
correct.
And so we'll have to go out and purchase a desk and,
I actually think we already have some in storage that are unused.
yeah, but usually, I mean, nevertheless, we have to purchase desks.
Somewhere there it has to be replaced, so.
And so my concern, when it comes to property like that, when we're giving county property, you know, to an employee, is one, if they've already had, because it's, I have a problem with this altogether with the retirement thing, because it seems to be, it moves around all the time.
Sure.
People want to massage it to do different things and get out of taxes and, you know, and buy stuff with it and get things done at their homes or whatever the case may be. You know where I'm leading with some of that. So my concern is that it's the $300, let's just say it's the $300 is either for a party, a farewell party, or, you know, they can purchase something with it, or we can just give them the $300. In this case, the party was, there was a party, and I don't know even know what the cost was.
It was
How
fairly
much?
minimal. It was, you know, cookies and punch. There wasn't a whole lot there, so.
Yeah, and then, so I'm assuming $50, and then there was,
I don't
there
think it was
was,
more than that.
then this desk is listed at $250. And desks, you know, I could see how that could be that way, but I have heard that sometimes these desks, could have a lot greater value than the $250. Meaning
That's
that,
true.
I mean, there are some that are historical in nature. I'm not saying this one is, but, in the past, I've heard there's historical nature where they
Sure.
say, let's list it for $250 because then I get it, but if you're to actually take it on the market, it'd probably be worth $700 because of its historical nature. And we have some of those desks here in the county as well. Where do we draw a line on some of these, you know, retirement gifts, meaning that we're gonna have to replace it. There is a cost to it, and if it costs more than what we're replacing, I'm just wondering.
It's a good question. The desk that's there, it's about a 5-foot desk, so it's a smaller desk. It's not a real big desk.
Leather,
It's
leopard
all wood.
skin,
Yeah, it's all wood.
had leopard skin on it.
That might have been something Richard Susaw put down, but it's It's just a
Just going off what I
standard
read.
wooden desk, so.
Leopard skin top.
No, it's all wood, just a oak desk, so. But, yeah, I guess that philosophy of, what do we do with the retirement gifts? Do we do it, as you're suggesting, maybe, just, here's the check for $300 or a gift card or something, or, something along that line, but not do county property? That's certainly a direction the commission can have us go. We can do that. We can, this is what, has happened in many times in the past, and with our department, with other departments as well, in various pieces of county property over the years. So, there is some room for discussion there if you want to have that. Assigning the value of it. Could we replace a desk for $250? Yeah, we could. Would it be this exact desk? Probably not. But it would be something that would function as well as this in the location, so.
And I would be fine if we had a note in there that the desk that is replaced with it does not exceed $250.
It's fine.
I know we buy chairs that are $400, $500 chairs, and so
And
sometimes
we buy others
desks
that
are,
are $100, so, it varies. It varies widely. And if we go back with something like the Herman Miller, the modular furniture rather than a standalone desk, that's a totally different cost as well, so.
yeah. Anyway, those are just some of my concerns as I'm looking down through this. I personally would like to see where if whatever their years of service, that we just put it in their bank account, let them go from there, and then,
Sure, make it
and then
simple for us.
make it simpler, and then also, if they want to throw a party, the department does, maybe they could collect $5 or $10 from everybody and throw them, have some cookies or whatever, and make it work instead of, it just gets complicated.
Yes.
Just for clarification, he put a Leopold desk.
Okay.
So, you had me nervous
Not
that
a
I
leopard
missed
skin?
something wild there.
I remember
in my
something in
reading.
there.
That's a Leopold.
That's close to leopard
I
skin.
think that- Yeah, that's the brand name of the desk.
I couldn't remember what it was, for sure.
It's
Okay.
like, man, how did I miss that?
You didn't. I misread it. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
You didn't have any?
I would, if we just maybe in the motion put, and I'm fine going with that, since we're gonna have to be unanimous on everything from here on out.
Yeah.
I'm fine going with that if we'll put a stipulation in there that the desk,
Replacement.
the replacement desk does not exceed $250.
That's right. So I will move that and this is a regular agenda, sorry, gotta keep track of where we're at here. So I will move that we declare the desk as stated in regular agenda, item number 3 is surplus to be given to Richard Shoesoff as a retirement gift with the stipulation that a replacement desk be purchased at the $250 value or less.
And I will suspend the Robert's rules from here on out because we don't have a third commissioner here, and I will second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye. That passes 2-0. And Commissioner Graves has left the meeting too. Okay. All right, number 6. I don't see a difference from the last time we had this. I didn't know if there was, if there was gonna be some changes. This seems like the same thing we had last time. Is that, maybe, go ahead.
So if you look at, I think the question was on 7-24, C-1, where it talks about the county commission, if the planning commission doesn't return a recommendation to the county commission within 45 days.
Yep.
Then you can assume a positive recommendation. The concern was brought up about whether or not being able to hold a public hearing.
Right.
It's mandated by state code at that point. And so the changes have been included to just clarify in that clause that the planning commission must hold that any required public hearing. I mean, state code already contemplates it. And then we change that to 60 days, just to accomplish maybe a potential continuance.
Where are you?
Those
with
should
that?
be, I sent you, I included a memo on the agenda request with those explanations, and then also an updated red line and
I see 45 days still on here.
are you looking at the red
There's a
line?
red line.
I thought I was looking at the red line.
It's the lower one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I added, I didn't take away the
Maybe that's where I'm
previous
getting the
one.
confusion, okay.
Yeah,
So, oh, okay.
sorry, I tried to clarify
This
my
is
memo
helpful.
there.
You get, yeah, when there's like 50 on there, not this, not that many, but, okay, so that clears it up.
The only thing maybe I would maybe suggest is, the reason I changed the 45 to 60, that's not based on any state codes, or, that's our requirement. I think that contemplates a continuance. Well, it made it tough to begin with, and we've had that situation just recently with the gravel request. And so I thought 60 might allow, a 2-month continuance. In looking at the calendar, we probably need to change that to 65. It seems like, I always thought it was 30 days in between meetings, but it's usually 5 weeks versus 4 weeks. And so,
So we could do that right here, though, to
we can
change
do
that to
that here.
65. And this, I mean, after reading this now, that addresses the concerns I
Okay.
had with the public hearing.
okay, sorry about the confusion there.
And just help me understand just a little better why we're striking the or the county commission out. We
Because-
just talked about going through a process to speed these things up.
Yeah.
And to me, by eliminating the or option, we're potentially delaying these things and drawing them out even farther because we're not giving the opportunity for a public hearing here.
I think the reason we did that is the way it was worded is that it contemplated the public hearing could be held either location. That's not the case. The state code requires the planning commission to hold it. County commission can so choose to have a public hearing. But we just wanted to make sure that it was clear that there is a mandatory public hearing to planning commission.
Okay.
Okay. I will move that we adopt the ordinance to amend section 7-5 of the Utah County Land Use Ordinance related to the application requirements for permits as stated in number 6, with the noted change of moving from a 60-day period to a 65-day period.
Now, I will second that. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye?
Aye. That passes 2-0. Okay, now we are down on agenda item number 8. All right.
Morning.
Morning, yes, if you'd just kind of go through and explain this one.
You know, this is probably more or less.
This is part of my, when I read down through it, the red, talking about the front setbacks, and it refers to chapter 3 of this ordinance may apply. When I see the word may apply, I'm not sure who the decision maker is on the may. That always puts me into question.
Probably be the zoning administrator when we threw in the may. You know, this is more or less like a housekeeping issue. The ordinance was actually adopted in 2011, which I figured you guys probably got that part. We just didn't have the tool, the language in the actual zoning for the location requirements to utilize that. So we basically threw in the exception so that we could utilize what we had in our ordinance already.
Okay, so going back to the may again, what would be the decisions where it would not apply and where it would apply? If it may, then that means you can say yay or nay to it.
Right, I think that would probably, the zoning administrator and maybe Public Works would probably make that decision, maybe a utility, or maybe there might be a conflict with the property boundary. And that we'd kind of like the may in there so that we have that flexibility where the county engineer and that could look at it instead of just saying that it will apply. We wanted to be able to have that flexibility to if any decision came up, we could at least review it.
Yeah,
That's-
Can't think of a exact example for the may, but I know that, we get plenty of building setbacks, and we don't utilize this one a lot, but we had an example come through with the building permit where we wanted to utilize it, and so that's why
Yeah.
the exception came in.
Sorry, Bryce Armstrong, Community Development. Just wanted to add, The may refers, is to bring to attention that Chapter 3 has setback requirements from a center line of a road, and those are based on generally public right-of-way standards. As Mr. May indicated, in 2011, the county commission approved a different setback distance for private roads because those aren't built to the same right-of-way width. So we wanted to bring attention saying there may be a lesser setback allowed as per section.
So hypothetically, if I'm building a cabin in a CE2 zone on a private road, then we're going to have the exemption to where I'm under the 30-foot setback because my front property is facing a private road.
Correct,
It's
and
accessed off
and
that.
not all cabins are built on private roads in the
Right.
CE2 zone. That's why the may is
And,
there.
and then if we're off of a county road in that instance, then you could look at it and have the flexibility and say, given the lot shape where this is at, we're gonna grant the exemption, or we're not going to because of X, Y, or Z.
Right, it's just a lesser setback because the right-of-way width is less on these private roads. And we put that in the C2 zone years ago because we have a lot of these older, in the Sundance area that weren't platted, some of these old cabins that had frontage on private roads.
And that would apply to an older cabin that's existing that would need to be, that was being renovated, right? Or
That's kind of how this one
something
came
like
about.
that, then we would need the flexibility to have the may in there because we wouldn't want to deny them the opportunity to do their renovation because of the historic nature of the setback law.
Correct. What happened before is we had it in there, but we had a clause in section, in the CE2 zone that said they need to meet all requirements of the Utah County Land Use Ordinance. And so we had a conflicting situation, and the more restrictive ordinance or regulation comes into play when it's conflicting. So we wanted to clarify, to let people take advantage of this lesser centerline setback and setback distance for a private road.
Yeah, so I understand that. So there is an appeal process, though, if they were denied?
No, this is just allowing them to take advantage of an existing law, existing regulation.
If you as the zoning administrator denied it,
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
there is an
Yeah.
appeal process in which they could say, I'm gonna appeal based on you gave it to so-and-so down the road.
Yeah, I mean, we're
That's
bound.
what I'm looking for.
Yeah, we're bound by that. If we make an error, then absolutely, they would allege that we made an error and go through our appeal
Okay.
process.
Fair enough. Okay,
I'll move that we adopt the ordinance as stated in regular agenda number 8.
and I will second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that passes 2-0. All right, number 9 is to approve a salary adjustment in accordance with the Human Resource Rules and Regulations in section 15C5. We've had some conversation on this. Cammie, I wonder if, I don't have a problem with this, but I'd have a concern for the future as we're going through our salary study and how adjusting it now, since we've been telling everybody hold off until we go through the salary study. And now we're doing an adjustment, and there's a potential possibility that an adjustment, and then there's an adjustment again, which changes the bandwidth. And so how can we look at that so that we don't get ourselves adjusting it twice?
As far as concern with this being a desk audit, this isn't a desk audit and we're not moving the range of the position. What 15C5 states is that in rare cases, when you have extraordinary performance and it will be long-term benefit to the county, then you can increase one's wages. So we have an individual who has a potential offer, and it would be a detriment to the county to lose that individual. So we're looking at adjusting the range in order to keep, or adjusting the salary in order to increase this individual person, not the range of the position. The salary study will look at the bandwidth of that position, and wherever the bandwidth falls in that salary study, this individual will go to that step.
Same step?
Not the same step,
Okay,
dollar amount.
That's what I wanted to make sure.
Right.
Okay, that was my concern, as long as we're addressing that, so we don't artificially bump and then have a potential bump again there. Okay,
All right, I'll move that we approve regular agenda item number 9.
and I will second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that passes 2-0. That page done. Okay. I saw the changes in this one. Thank you. Some questions. So last year, through the legislative process, there was a law that was passed, or modified, amended, changed that dealt with this. And it was a lot more along the lines of, if you call it transparency or accountability, maybe the accountability is a better term for it. And I see this, this resolution as trying to comply with that. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but at least so that we can account for it and have accounting for it as well. Is that a fair statement?
Well, to be frank, not really. We are already in compliance with what the laws, the changes in the law. We don't do the civil forfeitures that most of the changes applied to in the legislative session last year. We don't do them anyway. We do all of our forfeitures through the criminal process, which is kind of what the legislature, if I can read it correctly, is trying to move most of the forfeitures toward, is the criminal process. And again, we already do that. So we're not out of compliance, and we don't really need to make changes to be in compliance. This is purely an issue where I think that as Utah County operates, we can be more transparent, and we can be maybe leading the charge here. That we're going to, any funds that we garner through the forfeiture process are not going to be put into the day-to-day operations of this governmental entity, Utah County. Rather, they're going to be fenced and used for the purposes specified in this ordinance. But we were not out of compliance, and I didn't intend it to move us into compliance because it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, but it still puts, like you say, a fence around it, which is designated to stay there. And then the changes that I saw in there was that the county commission is the one in consultation with the attorney's office on the expenditures of those funds.
Maybe I would
with the
say
appropriate levels that are designated down below, and then the inappropriate ones as well.
it's more of a policy change for us rather than a requirement to come into compliance with anything the legislature's done. It's hard to read where the legislature goes in forfeitures because this has been an issue for the last 10 or 12 years, almost every year at the legislature, and it's hard to predict where it'll go even next year.
Yep.
But again, I think we are already complying with where the legislature's been moving and where I anticipate it may move, so we don't really need to make internal changes.
I have just a few questions to work through as we come down through this. In the first whereas, it talks about certain criminal offenses. Could you define or give examples of what those would be, those certain criminal offenses?
Almost all of them are drug distribution offenses.
Okay. And then in the second whereas, the property, what type of property are we talking about here? Just again, this is examples for clarification on what we're dealing with.
Probably 98% of it is cash, and occasionally we'll have vehicles. We have not attempted to forfeit real property as long as I've been county attorney, and do you recall when, Dave? It's been probably 15 or 20 years since we've tried to forfeit real property. That's basically it. There's a separate code section that allows for the forfeiture of firearms, and this would not be included in our ordinance for firearms.
Okay. And then just as we move into the therefores, I appreciated where this went in kind of a transparency, accountability type of segment. We're saying any of those funds that are received, we're going to track them. And I think that's excellent because it gives people the opportunity to know exactly where they're going. This isn't a government slush fund.
Correct.
We're not going out taking people's cars and trucks and various things to dump them in and subsidize our general fund.
Right.
And so I appreciated that those were tracked and that people could do that, and that the expenditure of those funds came to the legislative body was, I think, is the appropriate measure there, is reflected there, because it gives that check and balance to make sure we're not giving power away. The question I would have in the therefores is actually under subsection number 1, the actual verifiable legal costs. Could you separate for me, in my head, when I think about the legal costs associated with the proceeding, I think of my attorney's salary as part of that cost. How, but salaries are kind of forbidden, so how do we separate those two things out? What is a verifiable legal cost, and how is that separated from an attorney's salary?
This basically is the cost of publication in the newspaper. So we are required by statute to publish the forfeitures, and this basically allows us to reimburse the cost of that publication. Other than that, Paul, did you have any others that you recall? Yeah, if we had to serve someone with direct notice, with service of process, it would reimburse that amount.
Okay. And then in number 5, the matching fund for state or federal grants, could you give an example of where this particular expenditure would apply? Like, is there certain grants we have that we would match, or?
Well, frankly, most of these track the state statute that's in place already.
Okay.
We do not currently have any matching funds required for state or federal grants. But if we did a drug prevention program with ADAP, for example, or SMART, and we wanted to partner with them, we could use these funds to partner with them and to match whatever federal grant funds they received. If we applied to the state, I don't recall what their fund is called off the top of my head, but where their forfeiture monies go, if we applied for something with that, to that fund, they may require a match, and we could use our funds to match whatever the state is requiring.
Perfect. Those are my questions.
For example, many years ago, I think it was 2008 or 9, we applied for the reimbursement of a vehicle cost. And they didn't require matching then, but if we needed to, we could use the funds for that.
If they did, then we could use that.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All right, a motion would be in order.
I will move that we adopt the resolution as stated in regular agenda item number 17.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye. That passes 2-0. Okay, we've done number 21. We don't need number 22 and 23. All we need is 24 and 25.
I'll move that we strike regular agenda items number 22 and 23.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0.
Move that we approve and set a date, time, and location for a closed meeting to discuss the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual or individuals for today's date at this location following the completion of the regular agenda.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye. That passes 2-0.
And 25. Move that we approve and set a date, time, and location for a closed meeting for a strategy session to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation for today's date at this location following the completion of the regular agenda.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. I don't have any work session items. Are there any public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into our closed meetings. Thank you.